Okay, so I've got 3 students, and I'm going to say in the do something, print line, hello, comma, and the name of the student. How do I put the name of the student in the string?
Go outside quotation marks and then plus and then student.
Okay, that will work. What's the way I can put it inside the string? Yeah, $, and then the name of the variable. So this is called variable interpolation. So if I want to use the name of a variable inside of a string, I just put a $, in front of the variable, and it knows this is a variable. The $, means what comes after this is the name of the variable. So if I do something Robert, what should happen now when I run this? It should be pretty obvious, right? Oh, there we go. So hello, Robert. Now I want to make this a little bit more fun. Okay, I want to say depending on who the student is passed, do something different, right? Yeah. So I want to say, so one way I could do is with an if-else, right? So if student is equal to Robert, then do something. Okay. Then, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Let's print line. Hello, comma. How do you say K-O-L-L-I-E?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that's fine. Let me just run this. And while it's doing it, oh, there you go. Yeah. So I didn't give it, I gave it Robert and it prints it. If I didn't pass it Robert, I said, Mitch, do something with Mitch. And I hit run. It doesn't, it just says hello Mitch, which, because of this one. Let me comment this one out. So let me do this again. So it doesn't do anything. Okay, because there's nothing to do.
Because the argument, yes, say.
Because this is not met, and I have no else. So let me say, if it's Robert, do this. Otherwise, else, okay, else, and I put some space just for convention. Print line. Hello, sir. Okay, so if it's not Robert, just say hello, sir. Okay, great. Why is it so slow? Maybe the internet is slow. Okay, so if it's, are you guys all following this? Anyone not following me so far? Straightforward, right? I mean, but logically, do you follow it?
Yeah.
So it's if this condition in parentheses is true, then do something. Then I can add an else. If it's not true, then do something else, right? I could instead say, okay, I know I only have 1 of 3 students, possibly. So if it's not Robert, else, I can say else if. Else if. Is it, and this, by the way, I never remember because it's different languages are different. But this is else space if. Yeah. Okay. Else if some other condition. Student is equal to Mitch. Print hello, Mitch. What's your last name?
Marcus.
M-A-R-C-U-S. Mm-hmm. Okay. Else if. Let me just copy paste this, okay? And this is another way to get errors in your code is you copy paste and forget like to change stuff or to fix it. So who is the third student? Michael. And I forgot something here.
Right. That's it. You need that.
Do this.
You need to copy that and paste it.
No. That's right. No, I didn't forget.
You need to copy it.
Here.
Print.
There. Yeah. So else if it's Michael, no, I still have something wrong. This one, okay, if, open, close, else if this,
yeah, that one.
Open, close, else if it's this guy, close. No, this is just fine. It doesn't autocomplete or doesn't highlight the thing. Okay, so if it's Michael, then print line. Hello, Michael, what's your last name?
Sadhu, T-S.
T? T what?
S.
S?
A.
A?
D-U.
du. Okay. Now, what if, for some reason, just to be comprehensive, there was some other guy who showed up in my class, and it wasn't one of these three guys, Robert, Michael, or Marcus.
Else, hello.
Then I can just say else hello sir, right?
Yeah.
Else print line.
So you can say you are not Mitch. This, that, this,
Hi, I think you are in the wrong class. So if you're not one of those two guys, you don't belong in this class, so you can leave. No, I'm kidding. So now let me try this and see what happens. Hello, Marcus. What? Oh, yes, Mitch's last name is Marcus, right?
Yeah.
And I pass in Marcus or Mitch. So let me say, who's not in this case? What's your name?
Matt.
Matt. M-A-T-T?
Huh?
Okay, so do something with Matt. It's thinking, okay, I think you're in the wrong class. So, because it didn't match one of these conditions, right? Now, what if I have like a whole bunch of stuff? Even this, it's kind of tedious. If this, else this, else this, else that. It's kind of cumbersome to do all this. So let me just so you guys have this to see later on, let me just comment all this out. And redo that in a cleaner fashion, okay? With something called a switch statement. Yeah, it's doing something weird.
I mean, the online ID does that.
I think also it's like slow or something, and it's just doing weird stuff. Okay, so I want to say,
Yeah, it gives you
what
that.
the heck is it?
It always gives me that when I was working with that with Surface, that abstraction thing.
Don't
time you hear-
change anything. Okay, there we go. So I want to do this in a more concise, clean way. So there's something called a switch statement. So let's say I don't know how to type. I'm a new student, and I don't remember. I know there's something called a switch statement, but I don't know how to do it. So how do I figure that out? Let me go to the kotlinlang.org website, because I'm in the middle of the exam, and I don't remember how to do this. Okay? So let me just click on Learn, go to the reference, and maybe it's under Basics, and then Control Flow, because I'm controlling the logical flow of stuff, right? And then I see, okay, there's if, there's when, and when expression is a switch. Say I didn't know where it was. I can just search, Control F, search in here for switch. Search for switch. And I find the when expression. So in Kotlin, we use when for the switch statement. And you say when and the condition. Okay? And then you have all your different cases. And then you can have a default case. Okay? So this is it, when. I'm just going to copy this code like directly and put it into my playground. And then I'm going to change it. Okay? So I don't know what X is. I say when and the student name, right? So when student. Okay? Now is student an int? No, it's a string, right? So let me replace this with a bunch of strings. So when the student is, let me close this so you can see more of my screen. There we go. So when it's Robert, when it's, what are you doing? I just want the word Robert. Okay, when it's Mitch, and I need another one. And that is Michael.
You did change Mitch though for the extra there though for
Well, I don't want to print x equals 1. I want to print hello Collie for Robert.
Alright.
So let me change this to for Robert hello Collie. I want it to be exactly the same as above, but you can see the difference. For Mitch, where's Mitch?
Right there. Hello. One line up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting old and tired. Mitch, I want to print this statement. And then this ID is really bothering me now. For Michael, I want this third one. Am I recording? I think I am. Michael, print this. Okay? Now, and if it's none of those people, let me do this thing.
Yeah.
And I'll just leave it like this, but I don't need to. I don't need the block. Okay? The block is to show you could do any of these. Instead of this arrow, you could do a block of code. So I could do a block of code here instead of the arrow. So it's a very powerful statement. I mean, a very powerful way of writing. So instead of if, else, I just say when, boom, 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 all my cases, and then I have a default case. If it's none of those, else. Now, important note, okay? You can make a note of this one. In Kotlin, the default case is not required, okay? In programming in general, you should always have a default case for a switch statement, okay? Or in other words, not always, but your case statements, your switch statements, should be what's called exhaustive. So if I wrote this equivalent in Swift, which is another modern language, but we use that for iOS, right? If I didn't have a default, and I didn't have an exhaustive case, like every single possibility wasn't listed here, and there wasn't a default, I would get an error. The compiler would tell me switch statements must be exhaustive. Kotlin doesn't require that, okay? So Kotlin requires you to be a good programmer and make sure you have an exhaustive switch statement. Now, when would you not need a default? Okay, so there's certain types of variables that have a limited number of types. Okay, like for example, Boolean can be true or false, right? That's maybe a narrow example, because that's why would you use a whole case statement for something that only has two types, okay, or two values? But a Boolean, if I said if it's true, then do this. If it's false, then do that. I don't need a default because there's no other possibility, right? There's a kind of there's other types of variables I haven't talked about yet that can have like a limited number of values, okay? So like say it only had 3 possible values, okay? So like suppose it was a lever. I'm just giving you an abstract example. And the lever has 3 positions. And I know the lever only has 3 positions, up, down, and middle, okay? So then I can say when the lever is up, do this. When it's in the middle, do this. When it's down, do this. There's no need for a default because my switch is exhaustive. Everybody follow me?
Yeah.
Okay? But in a case where it's a string, this string could be literally anything. Maybe I thought, I'm coding this, I only have 3 possible values. I don't need to put a default because I use all 3. But maybe you did a typo. Or maybe you changed the program later. So it's good to have a default if you're not sure it's exhaustive, okay? So the burden is on you as a developer to do that. In Swift, it'll throw an error and you have to do it, so it won't let you make that mistake, okay? But the reason to have this default is just it's a good programming practice to avoid bugs, okay? And if you didn't think there's any other value, then you could throw an error message here. Like, I reached the default where I wasn't supposed to or something. You could print out some kind of error, okay? And I do this a lot in my own programming. Like I'll like print, I reached the default in this case. I didn't think I should have ever gotten here, okay? Anyway, so what looks more concise? This one or this one? The if statement or the when statement?
The one is less.
Yeah.
Cool.
Less code. What's easier to read?
No, when.
You don't have a if this thing is equal to blah, blah, else if this thing. It's just, there's no parentheses here. It's just Robert, Michael, Mitch. Yes?
Can you show more of the top?
The top is just the main function.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that see how it looks.
I'm just doing something with Matt here. But yeah. So this is the whole function. Okay? And these are 2 different ways of doing exactly the same thing. Okay? This if and this when does the same thing. Okay? So the when is what we call a switch statement, and it's a way to check a whole bunch of cases. Okay? So here, the thing I'm checking is a string. So I say when it's this string or that string or that string, do something. And the way I tell it to do something is I just put an arrow, and if I have a one line of code to do. If I have multiple lines of code to do, then instead of an arrow, I put an arrow and an open close brace, which is a code block. Okay? Or I could like call a function here instead of here. I could say, instead of print hello something, I could say like put another function. Okay? Let's say I have here function fun, I can spell, I can, greet student, and I pass in a name, which is a type of string, okay? And then I do something here. Okay? So here I could, instead of saying print hello, Saru, I could say, call that function. Greet student with his last name. I didn't tell it to return anything. I think this is just being slow. It's being slow. I think the braces are in the right place, right? This function, this if. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, so let me just put that print line statement here. Just to show you that I can do that, right? Greet student. Let me just copy paste this just to make sure I didn't type something wrong. I'm pretty sure I didn't. Let me hit play. What is wrong with you? Anyway, you can do this, okay?
Is that name right? The name with the column? Or you put string? Is that right?
Yeah.
Or it's supposed to
I'm
be-
passing a parameter, and the parameter I'm passing is this.
Okay.
And actually, I could just say here, name. Like, seriously, what is wrong with you? Okay, now it's just doing copy paste errors, left and right. Maybe yeah, my braces are off. I have this function main. I have this. Oh, okay. This thing is.
It's inside.
Okay, I'm totally off my braces now. Yeah, there we go. I had put it inside the other function by accident. So this should have a tab like that. I don't know. Anyway, now it works. Okay, so here I'm calling a function. Here I'm doing a statement. Here I'm doing a whole block of code, which could be multiple lines. Okay, so I could do in here like another print statement, for example. Why do I have print line?
Yeah, one of the backs.
I think this thing is just doing weird stuff. Okay, let me just copy this. Just to, highlight that I'm doing multiple things here.
So in Kotlin, when you using switch, you don't use the switch keyword.
No,
It's just one.
just use when.
Okay.
So in other languages like Swift and many other languages, you actually use the switch keyword,
Yeah.
and you use switch and then you use case in Swift. But in Kotlin, it's when. Okay, so when is the switch statement in Kotlin?